Hey guys, Ponce here on the PBE, here to show you guys the initial level 1 full jungle clear on Kled. Now I'm starting the recording a little bit earlier than I normally would before the mobs spawn, simply to sort of explain a few things, but you'll note that I don't have a leash. Normally it's not too much of an issue, but with Kled it kind of is, simply because he sort of has this threshold where if you lose the mount, so if you go past his sort of orange life here, and you become the mini Kled form or whatever you want to call it, you become really useless in the jungle. So again, normal, junglers can drop down in terms of their HP. It doesn't really matter. I mean, it's more dangerous and all that. But actually, Kled becomes useless in the jungle when that happens. So I'm going to try and demonstrate what's going on here. In general, he's not the greatest jungler, which we're going to discuss at the end of the video. Yeah. Okay, so I'm actually going to kite things out a little bit. You wouldn't normally have to do this, but yeah, again, I'm trying to conserve HP as much as possible. I'm just waiting for cooldowns like this.
Don't get weird on me.
I don't want to waste too much time, so I'm actually just gonna tank it a little bit here. Okay, good enough.
Shut your hole, you dumb lizard.
So I'm gonna be doing this so I can get the heal smite for that. I'm gonna kill the little guys first. I need to drag them outwards like this. So. You got to be careful around that thing because yeah, if you try and kite this thing too much, it resets like quite easily, especially with like CC and stuff. Grab that. We're looking relatively good here. I mean, I've used 2 potions, which doesn't seem great, but I'm waiting on cooldowns for just half a second here. I'm gonna drag it out, so I can kite a bit easier. Okay, we're fine now. So you can't hook onto these little guys, but you can definitely damage them with the initial shot. So there we go. Yeah, okay. We're doing all right. I gotta kill the little guys first, and I should probably take less damage. You gotta really, again, pay a lot more attention to what you're doing in the jungle in the initial clear than you normally would. So, oh, I fucked up. Oh. The dash isn't that important though, so it's fine. Okay, so we're actually more healthy than my last attempt at this. I was just kind of testing stuff earlier, and yeah, I do need to wait for the cooldown. So we're gonna wait for this thing, and then I can kind of bursting everything down pretty quickly if I have my smite. But you can kind of kite Gromp out, not really, but. Okay, so I'm maintaining my mount, at least temporarily for this thing. What you can obviously do is just go up here, kill Scuttle Crab and wait for a little bit of regen, which I'm not going to do, but. So I'm going to kite this for a little bit in the hopes that I can get off maybe one more Q, because that's actually a good bit. Okay, there we go. Now it's fine. So I lost my mount, which is obviously bad, but. So I could do the kite thing, but we've already done it anyway, so I'm just going to kill that. So yeah, just 4 minutes, 50 seconds, which is abysmally slow. But again, I'm going to mention that if you do have a leash, yes, you can maintain the mount, because that's the difference of a good chunk of HP there. And, everything speeds up a bit, and you don't have to be quite as careful with how you, kind of prioritize mobs and can go more so for speed efficiency. But, yeah, it really does highlight just how much on kind of a knife's edge you are on this jungler. So my recommendation would be just don't do it. You have the option of going top. Why bother putting him here? If you really want to, yes, you can jungle it. But also keep in mind, most junglers that I've tested with can do it with just a green potion. And instead of buying the more expensive 3-pot option. or not more expensive, but, you know, technically over the long run more inefficient, which is not, again, a huge deal because, you know, you probably don't want to be building Hunter's Potion on this guy later on anyway, but that's another topic. So, of course, you know, after the initial clear, you're going to be fine. Anything can jungle more or less after the initial clear. That's not an issue. Obviously, some are faster than others, some scale better, etc., etc., some are better ganks. But in terms of actually clearing it, you know, yeah, you're going to just zoom through the jungle after the initial clear. The initial clear is always the dangerous one because you run the risk of, you know, counter jungling and all that kind of stuff. And counter jungling, in my experience, this season, Season 6, hasn't been as huge of an issue. It's just largely a waste of the counter jungler's time a lot of the time I'm finding because of just, you know, how EXP and buffs and stuff work. But in Kled's case, he just seems even more susceptible to it simply because, like, if the jungler sort of hits you at all, or rather, you get counter jungle and you get sort of hit at all, and you takes any sort of damage, you get knocked out of mount form. So, you know, normally if you get a little bit lower, as you know, you get counter jungled, you know, you can either fight back or try to fight back, or like, well, I regen a bit, I can take a few more camps and just sort of continue on. Kled, you get knocked out of mount form, you're done. You got to go back and you just have a huge chunk of time wasted for you, and it's that easy for the counter jungler to do it. So essentially, even if he doesn't get anything out of it, doesn't necessarily steal anything, in that sense, he by knocking you out of the jungle for a while, he's at least accomplished something. So not a huge fan of that in that regard. So, and of course, as you've noticed, hitting mobs, unless it's an epic mob, for example, like Dragon, Rift Herald, or Baron, you don't get the mount bar back. Now, maybe they'll change that somehow if they actually want him in the jungle. I mean, certainly that would be a way of making him more viable in the jungle. But I don't think Riot's going to do that. At least I don't get the impression they do. Like, Riot has said he belongs in the top. They've actually outright stated that. So, like, I don't think anything is working, you know, everything is working as intended, rather. Of course, his ganks are going to be pretty good. But then again, you know, if you think of it in those terms, a lot of champions who typically don't belong in the jungle could, in theory, have really good ganks. For example, Vayne. Yeah, Vayne can go stealth. She can tumble towards you and then stun you and knock you back and all that kind of stuff. That great gank, right? Oh, jungle Vayne? No. I just kind of want to hammer this point home simply because I'm not saying he's the worst jungler ever. Yes, you can do it if you really want to do it. But he's never going to be, like, absolutely great there. Because yeah, it doesn't really matter. Like, every time I jungle something, I keep talking about this. Well, not... I should probably talk about this more, because basically every time I make a jungle video, someone out there, like some weirdo out there, has to insist that Jungle Talia is going to be the next thing because it's technically possible. Yeah, I cleared the jungle as Talia, technically, without a leash. Is it good? No. Like, again, there's a difference between being able to do something and it actually being good. You know, when you're doing something, you always have to be thinking, well, what else could I be doing instead, and how much more effective would it be? Would I rather be, you know, Jungle Kled, who has the risk of getting countered extremely easily? Also, you know 100% that he's going to be starting at red, otherwise he can't actually do the jungle. Unless he wants to start at blue and go really slowly, or do some kind of weird thing where you do Gromp first, run all the way down here, and then run to red. And, you know, if anyone catches you along the way, you die, and it's just, generally speaking, relatively inefficient because it doesn't use his mount very well. Or could I just be, you know, jungle, well, really anything. Pick an actual jungler. And anyway, that's it for me, guys. Once again, please don't conflate the notions of inability to do jungle and legitimately viable compared to better alternatives. If you really want to do it, go ahead. Be my guest. I'm not here to tell you how to play the game. But yeah, anyway, I'm other than that, I'm off to go stream on the live stream, or the PBE again. Good old fun PBE with some more Kled gameplay. So thank you very much, guys, and thanks for sticking around for this long-winded spiel at the end of the video. Goodbye.